Big Finish are in a interesting transitionary period at the moment when it comes to their classic stories from the Doctor Who range. They no longer have a monthly range, but they are now releasing several Doctor Who box sets a month, and they're diving deeper into Doctor Who's past than they had previously since the end of their monthly adventures range. Before, it was just 5, 6, and 7, while the Eighth Doctor was doing their own thing, Fourth Doctor was doing their own thing. But now with like Tim Treloar as the Third Doctor, we've got Stephen Noonan and also David Bradley doing some First Doctor box sets as well. The Second Doctor has not been getting that much love, and that's because, well, Patrick Troughton is like no longer with us, and he's only had a couple of box sets like Companion Chronicles. We reviewed one a couple of months back, another Companion Chronicles narrated by Fraser Hines, who is kind of been the go-to Big Finish Second Doctor. But now we're getting a brand new lease of life for the Second Doctor with Big Finish with Beyond War Games. And this title is exactly what it says on the tin, really. For those of you who don't know, at the end of Season 6, which was Patrick Troughton's final season back in 1969, he ends that season by being put on trial by the Time Lords, and they decide, you know what, this Doctor, he's not too bad, so what we're going to do is that we're going to take away his ability to travel in time in the TARDIS, we'll remove that knowledge of time travel from him, and we'll exile him to Earth with a new appearance so he can continue fighting the good fight for the human race and for everybody else. And also his companions, Jamie and Zoe, we're going to take them away from him, and then you're just going to erase their memories and put them back to where he found them. It's a very bittersweet ending. The story goes on, but the Second Doctor loses himself and his companions. War Games is an epic 10-part story, but Big Finish thought we need to go even further beyond. They Super Saiyaned it. And there's been the prevailing theory of Season 6B, where there's some discrepancies in the expanded media and also for the 5 Doctors and the 2 Doctors back in the 1980s, where there's a bit of contradictory information about the Second Doctor's fate and potential missions for the Time Lords, and this cultivated in Season 6B. And Big Finish decided not just to make this a fan theory anymore, but to dive right into it. But also with a new Second Doctor. We have one of Patrick Troughton's sons, Michael Troughton, voicing the Second Doctor. And Beyond War Games is a box set that's comprised of 2 4-part stories. We've got The Final Beginning by Mark Wright and Nicholas Briggs, and Wrath of the Ice Warriors by Andrew Smith, with The Final Beginning literally taking place right where the War Games Part 10 finishes. Let's play a quick clip of what happens to the Second Doctor immediately after the trial.
Oh my word. Jamie? Zoe? They'll forget me, won't they? What? Who's there? Jamie, is that you? Oh, of course. They sent you home, didn't they? Oh. They? The Time Lords? I remember. Wait. Oh. Lucky old me. You bodged it, didn't you? Exile? Ha! You lot couldn't exile a cheese roll. Oh, my word. Oh. Better find the TARDIS and get away before I turn into a block of ice. Oh.
So The Final Beginning is obviously trying to, crib the very clever wordplay from The Final End from Evil of the Daleks. This story is kind of a spiritual successor to Evil of the Daleks because the Second Doctor, through forces beyond his control, winds up on the planet Skaro and has to do a rescue mission. So it's kind of difficult to talk about the Beyond War Games box set without getting into some baseline spoilers. Now, I'm not going to tell you how the stories end or some of the twists and turns, but you kind of need to know the baseline premise of the Beyond War Games box set in order to properly talk about it. So if you want to know absolutely nothing about Beyond War Games, I will just briefly say it's a solid box set that I think is kind of setting up more stuff for the future. It's unambiguously a pilot box set. It is a part one of more potential Second Doctor box sets in the future. Michael Troughton is spot on, is brilliant, and Wrath of the Ice Warriors is a really fun 4-part story as well that feels like it is taken straight out of the early, like, John Pertwee and Unit days. It feels like it's one of those stories, but you've put the Second Doctor in there instead. It's a solid box set. It probably doesn't make my top 5 for the year so far, but it is a good springboard for potentially bigger and better things. But as itself, as a first story, as a first part, it's pretty good. I did enjoy it. But now let's talk about some baseline level information. So if you want to avoid that, then come back later or whatever you want to do. So Beyond War Games does take place immediately after the events of the War Games, and it does confirm the fan theory that the Second Doctor is taken on board by the CIA, the Celestial Intervention Agency. How that happens and the form that takes, I won't entirely give away, but his first mission in the final beginning takes him to Skaro because there's some unintended consequences of the Doctor's final end of the Daleks in Evil of the Daleks, where that was meant to have wiped the Daleks out of time and space entirely, but some weird anomaly in the timelines is causing them to kind of fade back into existence. So the Second Doctor, he goes into the Emperor's throne room and he sees ghosts of the Daleks there, and he also sees the abandoned Emperor Dalek in its empty metal shell there, still there from the time that he committed the final end, the act of genocide. So it's an interesting box. It's an interesting story, but it's very, very brief and it's very, very brisk. If you look at the actual synopsis and the description of these stories, the final beginning is 4 parts and Wrath of the Ice Warriors is also 4 parts, but the final beginning, its episodes are like 15 minutes long. It's an hour-long story, but for some reason it's broken off into 4 parts, whereas Wrath of the Ice Warriors is like a 2-hour story with half-hour episodes. It's really weird. It also means that for the final beginning, the pace is all over the place, and it feels like you're a driving instructor, and the person who you're teaching it doesn't have the control of the clutch yet, so you stop starting. Oh, we've just got a good pace going. Oh, cliffhanger the credits. Oh, shouldn't there be like 10 minutes left? The pacing's all off. However, the final beginning is a decent atmospheric start, a new pilot of season 6B. And we also have this character in the plot synopsis called Raven. Raven is voiced incredibly by Emma Noakes, and I cannot wait to hear more of her in these upcoming box sets, if there are going to be more of them. Raven is an absolute riot, and I want to hear and see more of her in the future, and I hope that she becomes way more active in the stories coming forward. She's a bit more of a spectator now, and brief cameo appearances here and there. I want her to be like the centerpiece of a story, and also the whole subplot of what is the Celestial Intervention Agency up to. In the behind the scenes, they're very upfront about there being more story to tell, and there's like even a post-credit sting at the end of Wrath of the Ice Warriors as well, so stick around for that, teasing future stuff. It is a pilot unambiguously. Final beginning is decent and atmospheric, good performances. We even have Tim Treloar, third Doctor actor, playing Silas, one of the characters here as well, in a small role, but it's fun to have him around there as well. So when it comes to the second story, Wrath of the Ice Warriors, this is a solid unit-based story. We've got John Coleshaw reprising his role as Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. This is a story that does fit right in between the invasion and Spearhead from Space, where it turns out the Brigadier had another encounter with the Second Doctor that they just never mentioned. It works out, makes sense. But basically, the Ice Warriors are invading Scotland, or areas of Scotland at least, and there's a group of ships as well that are amassing near Jupiter that could be related, who knows. We've also got Katie Manning, not as Jo, but as the Ice Warrior Queen, who is so much fun. But let's play a clip from Wrath of the Ice Warriors.
Right, I'll get this search started. Our green friend went towards the coast. He'll want to keep out of sight. There are caves along the coastline.
Oh, Sheena Flynn.
I'm sorry?
Stopped on the road over there.
Oh, yes.
I'll just, have Have a word with her.
You're not going to join the search?
I'll leave that to the professionals for now, Brigadier.
Right you are.
Besides, I'll only get bored.
Well, take one of these. You remember the TM-45?
Oh, yes. Your transceiver radio. Oh, I remember very well.
50-mile range. Extend the aerial and push the button when you want to speak.
Yes, quite straightforward, thank you.
My call sign is Greyhound 1.
Why Greyhound?
Why not?
Well, what about, I don't know, Springer Spaniel?
No, Doctor. Let me know if you wander off. Otherwise, I'll see you back here.
Splendid. Happy hunting, Brigadier. Or should I say, Greyhound?
I'm glad that we've got more Cosmic Hobo stories with the Brigadier. I think the two make a really fun pairing. So, as people in the chat as well talking about Jamie references, there's not that much to be found here, unfortunately. This is quite a detached story from everything else. That's actually a bit of an issue where the Doctor seems to be getting over the loss of Jamie and Zoe quite quickly, kind of for the necessity of the plot. Like, it just needs to move. Like, you don't want to be bogged down in all of that because for the sake of the pacing, but I think it does hurt the character a little bit. But there is a fun reference to why the sonic screwdriver gets a redesign from the second to the third Doctor. There's a cool throwaway reference there. But anyway, Wrath of the Ice Warriors is a decent romp. It is a decent 4-part story by Andrew Smith, where there's some decent twists and turns along the way, but I thought that they were a little bit predictable. I kind of saw some of the twists coming from maybe a bit earlier than I think the story expected you to notice them. Katie Manning is a lot of fun, but the fourth part, the ending conclusion of Wrath of the Ice Warriors, if you've listened to other Ice Warrior Big Finish stories, particularly Red Dawn, or if you at least know what the Red Dawn is in Ice Warrior mythology and Doctor Who, you can kind of predict the ending of this story, and it hits those very similar beats and those very similar moments from Red Dawn. So it's not groundbreaking, but it is a fun 4-part story, and the novelty of Michael Troughton doing a incredibly good job at capturing the spirit and the essence of his late father is top tier, and you get the sense that he's having so much fun with it as well. There's a great behind the scenes clip as well. He's having so much fun with this role, and you can really tell.
I am Michael Troughton, the second Doctor Who.
Scene 6, take 1.
Outrageous! That's what it is. When a fellow has his TARDIS controls interfered with, the Celestial Intervention Agency makes for a very unwelcome bedseat driver. I'll start again.
A bedseat? Bedstead driver.
Just revving up.
Just to warm up there.
Here we go again.
Mario Bowser 494, I guess, never liked the Ice Warriors as villains. I actually think that they are really good here, because when the third Doctor encounters them in the Peladon stories, when he first meets them, he's like, the Ice Warriors, they're nothing but trouble. But then it turns out in those stories, no, there are actually good Ice Warriors, and that the second Doctor just met a bunch of bad ones. Wrath of the Ice Warriors does a really good job at not contradicting that third Doctor impression, where there are some good and some bad Ice Warriors here, but in a way that the second Doctor's judgment is not affected. When it comes to encountering them another incarnation later, he still has a really negative impression of them. It's actually quite clever that it doesn't contradict anything that happens on TV, but it is still another Ice Warrior story with the second Doctor. This is a decent, fan-pleasing story that plays it quite safe. Like Nicholas Briggs, you heard there, he's the director of this box set. He co-writes the final beginning, and I think Nicholas Briggs is a really good Big Finish writer, but he's also quite a safe one. I think that he knows what the fans want. I think he knows how to lay the groundwork for future stories, and I hope that future box sets with the second Doctor push the character a bit further, that they do go, like, this isn't just more adventures with the second Doctor, but this is the second Doctor being forced to do missions for a corrupt elite Time Lord organization who ripped Jamie and Zoe away from him. I think that hanging above him is quite questionable. Like that, like, you know, maybe he should be a bit more upset or concerned about the loss of Zoe and Jamie, and nothing like that happens. It's more interested in the final beginning, a 4-part horror story for all intents and purposes, and then Wrath of the Ice Warriors is a fun military unit story that seems ripped out of season 7 or season 8, but it's just the second Doctor. Michael Troughton's great. John Colshaw's terrific as well. The cast across the board are incredibly strong. It's a decent box set. It's hard to tell if this will be essential listening, though. It depends on where the Beyond Wargame story in Season 6B goes. If you need more Second Doctor, or if you're super duper curious, I can't say don't pick it up, but I can't say run out and get it right now, download it now, get the CD now, because this is must listen. It's not quite on that level yet. Katie Manning, as Ice Warrior Queen, is must listen, but I don't know if it's worth the price of admission alone, unfortunately. I do hope that they take the Second Doctor in more interesting directions now that the groundwork has been laid, and it's essential to lay that groundwork, absolutely. But, you know, you kind of have to review the box set that you've got here, not the future promise of something that I don't quite know. By the sounds of the behind-the-scenes features, you know, Nicholas Briggs and producer Mark Wright, they know where they want the story to go. But yeah, it's a bit like emblematic of the cover art itself. The cover art's really, really cool, but it is just the Second Doctor, but a colour version of his opening title sequence. It's just more of the Second Doctor that we already know. And that's fine, that's really cool. I just hope that they push it further in future. We do have a confirmed box set for 2023 coming out in a year's time. I kind of wish that these box sets were coming out a bit more frequently. I've got a feeling I might forget some key plot details between now and next July. I think I might forget some of the setup by the time I end this livestream, unfortunately. But Beyond Wargames is solid. I had a good time with it. I just don't think it's essential listening. Maybe when it becomes part of the bigger, broader Second Doctor saga, I can say, yes, this was worth laying the groundwork for, but I can't see into the future. But interesting fan experiment of actually trying to, in Big Finish at least, canonize Season 6B. I respect them for doing it, but I also think that they should use that playground to not just repeat the greatest hits, to actually push the Second Doctor into places that he couldn't go before. And with Michael Troughton on board, they'd be dumb not to do it.